In a royal spectacle nobody saw coming, Prince William didn't just walk onto that stage, he owned it with a statement so bold it rattled the very walls of the monarchy. Standing tall with his family beside him, he dropped a sentence that sent shockwaves across the palace. In that instant, the future shifted, and when the spotlight swung to young Princess Charlotte, she wasn't just a child anymore. She was stepping straight into history before the world's eyes. Gasps echoed through the crowd as flashes went off like fireworks. What does this dramatic move mean for King Charles, for Camilla, and for the monarchy itself? Is tradition about to crumble under the weight of a new generation ready to take charge? This announcement wasn't just news, it was a royal bombshell, but had everyone from palace insiders to street corner gossipers buzzing with disbelief. The setting couldn't have been more deceptive. Kensington Palace looked calm, the summer breeze drifting through its garden. Sounds like just another polished royal event. Guests came prepared for charity speeches, polite applause, and maybe a glimpse of George waving or Charlotte flashing her sweet smile. But behind those palace doors, something extraordinary was brewing. When Prince William stepped up, he didn't deliver the bland polish lines we've heard 100 times before. His voice carried urgency, fire, and a raw determination that made even hardened reporters lean forward. The man wasn't speaking like a prince bound by tradition, he was speaking like a leader ready to tear down walls and set a brand new course for the crown. Princess Catherine stood like a rock bust, eyed him calm and graceful, her hands steady on Charlotte's back, as if to say, "You're ready for this." George, standing tall nearby, carried himself with a seriousness far beyond his years, almost as if he too knew something was about to shake the royal world to its core. And then it came. William dropped the kind of bombshell no royal will watch or could have predicted. With the weight of centuries in his voice, he declared, "We are starting a new chapter that honors the past while building for the future." His eyes glistened as he invoked Queen Elizabeth II's legacy, reminding the world of her vision for a stronger monarchy. Then, with a tremor that felt both emotional and unstoppable, he announced, "My daughter Princess Charlotte will begin her official duties as a crown representative." The reaction was instant. Audible gasps, cameras snapping like machine guns, even palisades frozen in shock. This wasn't a minor update. This was history cracking open right before their eyes. Charlotte, still so young, stepped forward with a poise that stunned even her critics. She wasn't timid, she wasn't hesitant. She looked ready to own her destiny, as if royalty was stitched into her DNA. But the silence from King Charles III and Queen Camilla was deafening. They didn't step out, didn't smile, didn't clap. That silence screamed louder than any speech. Insiders whispered that this was the clearest sign yet of a shift in power inside the palace walls, the old guard fading, while William and Catherine surged forward as the new heartbeat of the monarchy. 4 months murmurs had hinted at changed traditions, bending public opinion, sliding. Charles, freshly ground, already seemed worn down by the burden of the throne. Meanwhile, William and Catherine were everywhere, shaking hands, meeting crowds, dominating headlines. Polls confirmed what the public already felt: this couple wasn't just the future of the crown, they were the isn't, and their influence was only growing stronger by the day. With every public appearance, William and Catherine made one thing clear: they weren't waiting for the crown to be handed down, they were already stepping into leadership. Their energy was fresh, their style was modern, and little by little, they started stripping away the old traditions that weigh the monarchy down for decades. Behind palace doors, the whispers grew louder. Advisors hinted at secret talks, possible shifts in succession, and a new direction for the royal family that had old loyalists panicking. The rumors were always vague enough to deny, but sharp enough to keep the tabloids on foot. Word spread that William had been in quiet conversations with senior Commonwealth officials, while Catherine, never one to just stand in the shadows, was sliding into advisory roles usually reserved for the old guard. And then came the jaw-dropper whispers that Princess Charlotte, not George, was already getting early media training. Insiders claimed she even sat in on prep meetings designed for future leaders years ahead of schedule. Some dismissed it as gossip, but others pointed out how Camilla Camp was keeping a close watch, worried about Charlotte's rise, threatening her influence in the palace. The tension deepened when William skipped a high-profile meeting with King Charles to instead visit a children's cancer unit in Manchester. His visit stole all the headlines, completely overshadowing Charles' London event that same day. To many, this wasn't just a scheduling choice, it looked like a deliberate act of quiet defiance. Yes, Prince George is still next in line after William, but Charlotte's rising role is undeniable. Her charm, her composure, even her resemblance to Diana's leadership qualities, all of it is fueling talk that she is destined for something greater than just the sidelines. William's decision to personally announce her new role, rather than Charles making it official, wasn't just bold, it was a warning shot. The monarchy's future is shifting fast, and William wants the world to know exactly where the power lies. King Charles may still wear the crown, but it's becoming painfully clear he's stepping back, while William and Catherine are surging forward with confidence that can't be ignored. Public concern is growing, and not just about the king's health, but about whether he's even capable of carrying the heavy weight of the throne. Missing key events only fueled speculation that something was wrong, and whispers from inside the palace confirmed it. Exhaustion had left Charles drained and withdrawn in the critical weeks leading to this moment behind the gilded doors of Buckingham. A quiet crisis was unraveling. Schedules were rewritten, strategies reshaped, and aides scrambled to mask the reality that King's grip was flipping. Known for his rigid routines and careful planning, Charles suddenly became unpredictable, cancelling duties and lashing out in frustration. Officials people brushed it off, claiming he was simply taking a much-needed break after his first turbulent year as monarch, but insiders knew better. This wasn't rest, it was strain. The bitter truth: Charles, after waiting a lifetime to wear the crown, felt overshadowed by his own son. Wherever William and Catherine appeared, crowd or wrapped it in applause, the public enchanted by their presence. Meanwhile, Charles seemed distant, and Camille, his appearances continued to stir old resentments among both insiders and the public. The contrast was brutal. William and Catherine were loved, Charles and Camilla remained divisive behind the scenes. The ancient boiled over. The king clashed with senior advisors on how to rein in William's rising profile, terrified of being pushed aside, yet whispers claimed he was already considering a slow handover of responsibilities, a quiet transfer of power that could reshape the monarchy itself. Some even say this plan had roots in Queen Elizabeth's final days, when she allegedly urged Charles to prepare for William's leadership to ensure stability. But Camilla wasn't having it, fiercely protective of her influence. She dug in, unwilling to watch William and Catherine eclipse her role. After everything she and Charles endured to finally reach the throne, Camilla could sense it. William and Catherine's growing spotlight wasn't just attention, it was a direct challenge to the royal order she had fought so hard to be part of. She wasn't ready to accept it, but change had already slipped out of her control. Charles, retreating further from public life, looked powerless to stop the tidal waves crashing over the monarchy. Into that void stepped William, calm, assured, and every bit the leader the public craved. The once carefully united family now stood fractured, and the divide was plain for all to see. At grand events, the balance of power was impossible to ignore. Even the Queen's Consort, meant to honor tradition, revealed the shift. Will you I'm Catherine, and their children were the center of attention, the ones the people truly came to see. Then came the moment that set the palace buzzing. In the lush setting of Kensington Palace Gardens, guests thought they were in for a routine royal speech. Instead, William stunned the audience with a bold address that went far beyond ceremony. He paid tribute to Queen Elizabeth II, honoring her legacy of duty. But his words carried something sharper, a clear signal that the monarchy was evolving under his watch. Our voice will ignite a new beginning, William declared passionately, not by abandoning tradition, but by evolving it. The crown isn't a relic, it's a living promise of service. And that promise belongs to the future. The atmosphere shifted instantly, gasps, applause, even tears rippled through the crowd. And just when it seemed the moment had peaked, William went further, introducing Princess Charlotte as ready to step into her first official duty. He announced that she would soon join Catherine at engagements, learning firsthand the meaning of service and shaping a bold new vision for their country. The crowd was floored, the cameras caught every jaw drop, every stunned glance as people realized what had just been said. Charlotte was no longer just the sweet royal child waving at cameras, she was the something bigger. William made it clear she wouldn't be hidden in the background. Instead, she was being shaped for real responsibility, maybe even to rival her own brother George one day. The photos of Charlotte standing proudly at WM's side, her modest smile captured, and perfect lighting spread like wildfire across social media. In that single moment, the world saw what William intended: to elevate his daughter into the spotlight and rewrite the old rules of royal power. Catherine stood tall beside him, serene yet strong, one hand resting gently on George's shoulder, a subtle reminder that unity ran through their family. Even as they pushed forward into uncharted territory, the crowd roared with approval. The media cheered the bold vision, but behind the palace gates the atmosphere was tense, almost electric with resentment. Camilla, watching her influence erode in real time, felt the threat like a dagger. For years, she had clawed her way from scandal to Queen Cancer, art enduring endless criticism to secure her place. Now Charlotte's rise threatened to undo everything she had built. Fearing her position was slipping, Camilla convened an urgent meeting with her closest advisors, demanding a strategy to reassert control and reinforce the hierarchy. But Charles refused to play on long. His weary words stunned even Camilla. His allies let it unfold. It has already begun. That single sentence left her isolated. One by one, staff who once stood firmly behind her began shifting their loyalty to William and Catherine. Even foreign diplomats started bypassing Clarence House, directing their attention straight to Kensington Palace. The media narrative sealed the blow. William, Catherine, Charlotte and George were painted as the future of fresh royal family for a new era. Meanwhile, Camilla was increasingly portrayed as a relic of the past, out of step with the public's enthusiasm. And while everyone upset over Charlotte's sudden prominence, few noticed the quiet strategist behind it all. Catherine, who had spent years mastering palace politics, now moving pieces on the board with the elegance of a queen and waiting. Catherine's quiet strategy was finally paying off, and the results were undeniable. No longer joy, just the dutiful wife and mother, she had become a central force shaping the monarchy's next chapter. While Camilla desperately worked to polish her public image, Catherine didn't have to try. The people already adored her. Her popularity wasn't built on stage gestures or smiles, but on real, authentic moments. It's comforting children in hospitals, laughing with worried parents, and showing the world she was as nurturing at home as she was in public. That authenticity set her apart. It made her untouchable in the palace power struggle. Catherine proved to be William's greatest weapon when Camilla pushed for more influence. After William's announcement, Catherine didn't rise to the bait. She stayed silent, but her silence was strategic. Insiders whispered that behind the calm exterior she was deeply involved, reviewing media coverage with William every night, analyzing reactions, and carefully mapping out their next moves. Her fingerprints were all over the family's rise. Charles, his most trusted advisors, began to defect, swayed by William and Catherine's vision for a modern monarchy, and palace insiders revealed a bombshell months earlier. Catherine herself had commissioned polling to measure public opinion on Charlotte's growing role. The results were stuff. Tiger in the public wasn't just supportive. They were excited. That data gave William the confidence to take the risk, knowing the people were firmly on their side. For Catherine, this was never about chasing titles or vanity. It was about ensuring the monarchy had a future. She understood what Charles and Camilla refused to accept. Clinging to the past would only kill the crown and Charlotte. She saw a future built on compassion, intelligence, and resilience, qualities she carefully nurtured with her own steady hand. Once dismissed as the commoner, Princess Catherine had risen beyond ceremony and into real power. Her influence didn't come from bloodlines, but from discipline, strategy, and credibility. The palace corridors had become a battlefield, not with swords or crowns, but with influence, loyalty, and perception. Catherine's calm dominance was winning allies faster than Camilla could hold them. Advisors once loyal to Charles began leaking. Whisper IRS. The king was cornered, struggling to maintain authority, while his son and daughter-in-law quietly commanded the spotlight. For Camilla, it was a nightmare unraveling in slow motion. Every headline praising Charlotte felt like a dagger. Every photo of Catherine shaking hands with the public chipped away at her fragile standing. Her long, painful journey from scandal to Queen Consort suddenly looked fragile again. She worked decades for this crown, insider said, and now it's slipping right out of her hands. Charles, already weary and withdrawn, hated confrontation. Instead of stepping in, he stalled, telling his circle that William's right was natural and inevitable, but his indecision only fueled palace tensions. Diplomats, charities, and even foreign leaders began requesting William and Catherine over him and Camilla, a subtle but devastating sign that the crown's future was already moving past the king. The contrast couldn't have been sharper. At one gala, Camilla arrived first, but the press barely paid attention. Minutes later, William and Catherine appeared with Charlotte and George. The flashbulbs erupted like thunder. Tabloids splashed the family across front pages under headlines like "The New Royals," while Camilla coverage was buried deep inside, behind closed doors. Camilla pushed Charles to fight back, urging him to reassert control. But insiders claimed he snapped. It's too late, Camilla. The tide has turned. That single sentence revealed the truth. The king himself felt powerless to stop his son's momentum. The breaking point came when the media stopped pretending. For months they hinted, suggested, and speculated, but now the headlines were blunt. William's monarchy has arrived overnight. The press shifted its language. No longer was it about King Charles, his reign. Instead, articles and broadcasts spoke of William and Catherine as the faces of a modern crown, with Princess Charlotte hailed as its future star. The imagery told the story better than words. Side-by-side photos compared Charles looking weary and withdrawn with William glowing in confidence and energy. Camilla, once desperate to control the narrative, was reduced to background mentions, overshadowed by Charlotte's every step. For an hour, outlets went even further, calling the Cambridge is the real royal family, a label that sparked outrage and Clarence House, but resonated loudly with the public. Inside, the palace staff no longer hid their preferences. Invitations from global organizations and world leaders began bypassing Charles altogether. Addressed directly to William and Catherine. Ambassadors lined up for photo ops, with Charlotte eager to attach themselves to the rising generation. One palace insider admitted, "It's embarrassing. The king is treated like a placeholder." Even the public's reactions became impossible to ignore. At a charity gala in London, Charles and Camilla entered to polite applause, but when William, Catherine, George and Charlotte walked in moments later, the room erupted. Thunderous clapping, cheers and flashing cameras, the kind of reception usually reserved for global icons. The difference was staggering. Charles' patience thinned, but his attempts to remind the world of his authority only backfired, painting him as out of touch, and Camilla's frustration grew unbearable. After decades of clawing her way into acceptance, she was now being sidelined by a new royal team whose rise seemed unstoppable. Catherine has become more than just William's partner. She is the quiet protests actor of the monarchy's future, the one steering real change behind palace walls. And now, with the dust settling from William's shocking announcement, the royal stage has never looked clearer. William, Catherine, Charlotte and George stepped forward as one powerful unit, presenting the world with a vision of what's to come. Charlotte, graceful yet striking, instantly captured attention. Observers couldn't miss the echoes of Diana's compassion and Elizabeth's steadiness in her every move. This wasn't just a little girl smiling for cameras, it was the symbolic beginning of her royal journey, a transition from childhood innocence into an essential role in shaping the monarchy's next chapter. While Charlotte shined, George stood close, quiet and observant, the steady presence of a boy already carrying the weight of a future king. His calm demeanor revealed a quiet strength, or reminder that leadership can come without words. Through point he's alone, this moment wasn't about routine royal duties. It was about a family rewriting the meaning of monarchy itself. William and Catherine are proving that true power lies and trust in visibility, in a genuine connection with the people, not in dusty titles or rigid bloodlines. And in them the public sees not just heirs but leaders for a new era. Meanwhile, Charles and Camilla remain in place, their titles intact, but their influence fading in plain sight. The generational shift isn't just happening in the UK, it's unfolding in the hearts of royal watchers across the globe. Charlotte and George are no longer just royal when they are the faces of the crown's rebirth. One truth is undeniable: the monarchy isn't dying, it's being reborn. The question is, will the new generation take full control, or will the old guard fight to cling on to power? What do you think this means for the future of the monarchy? Will we